Of those factors, unlike anything most of these drivers, if not all, have ever seen before. Let's keep our fingers crossed that this goes as well as practice and qualifying leading up to it.
Drivers starting to line up 2 by 2. Let's take a quick look at the lineup. Kyle Kaiser and Ed Jones in the front row. Santi Urrutia, R.C. Enerson make up row number 2. Felix Sorrellis, Andre Negrão make up row 3. Row 4, Zachary Clayman DeMello and Dalton Kellett. Row 5, Dean Stoneman and Neil Alberico. Rest of the field, Scott Hargrove, Shelby Blackstock, Felix Rosenquist, Juan Pedrojita, Heeman Choi, and Zach Veach. Pace car going to make one more round, it appears, before we go green. Let's check in with our turn announcer up there in turn number 2, Jake Query. The field lined up momentarily. We're going to do it all over again, though. How is that view high above this beautiful Phoenix International Raceway?
Tremendous, clear, and unobstructed. Not unlike the sun here in Arizona as we get set. Field already into the backstretch, Nick, and we're about to go racing here at the Phoenix International Raceway.
Sounds like the pace car might have did an extra lap that he wasn't supposed to. So field is lined up 2 by 2. Kaiser and Jones on the front row. The field will blitz around the pace car. That was awfully close. Green flag is in the air. Jake Query, as they head to you. Kyle Kaiser has the lead in turn 1.
Single file. Kaiser now about a 3-car length advantage. Jones tried to take a look to the inside, couldn't do so, and now the advantage grows a little bit more before turn number 3.
Boy, 3 wide further back through the dogleg, but Kyle Kaiser with a strong lead coming out of turn number 4. It's 6 or 7 car lengths, Jake, over Ed Jones as they head to turn 1.
Indeed, Jones trying to keep him in sight, not going to be able to do so. R.C. Enerson moved his way into the 3rd spot. Field now single file as they move towards the backstretch.
Mark Janes on this second lap, things settling down up front in the first 2 or 3 positions, but towards the rear of the field, they're going 2 and 3 wide.
Yeah, Zach Veach made quick work of his teammate Rosenquist, Choi, Pedrojita, Hargrove, Blackstock getting ready to be a victim. Of course, he had to start at the rear of the field, could not qualify yesterday, but up front, it's all Kyle Kaiser at the midway point of the back straightaway.
So we kind of anticipated this. Zach Veach in 2 laps went from 16th to 11th, but it is Kyle Kaiser up front. He's got about a 10-car length lead over the 11 of Ed Jones. Jake, that battle for 3rd, Andre Negrão creeping up on the back of R.C. Enerson.
Up about 2.5 car lengths. That black machine of the ground, car number 17, trying to close in on R.C. Enerson. Enerson holds him at bay now as they work towards the turn 3, turn 4 area.
Enerson takes a very less than aggressive line through turn number 3. He's got about a 2 or 3 car length lead over Andre Negrão as they set up for turn number 1. Further back in the field, things have settled down. We saw 2, 3, and nearly 4 wide at times further back in the field with a pair of the Pelfrey cars, the Juan Pedrojita and Scott Hargrove. The Belardi Auto Racing cars mixed it up quite as bit. But again, Kyle Kaiser off of turn number 4. Jake, that lead appears to be growing for that sophomore driver for Juncos Racing.
Good battle in the middle of the pack, as you talked about. That's Neil Alberico and Dalton Kellett. It is the battle for 10th. It's of note only because it's settled down just a bit, but then you've got Zach Veach in that 11th spot trying to take in yet another car. Kelton right now is his target.
Mark, we anticipate with 90 laps on these Cooper tires, the tire degradation going to be something we're going to be watching throughout the course of this race.
Yeah, we've seen it at Milwaukee. We've seen it at Iowa. Guys that don't take care of the tires, and over the last 25 laps of the race, a car that appears to be dominant early on, I think suffers handling issues toward the last 15, 20 laps of the race. No question you got to take care. I think it's going to be very, very similar to the Verizon IndyCar Series because of the loads and the way this track is set up. I think the one you got to keep an eye on is that left front. That's the one you got to take care of. That's the one that I think could conceivably go away first. So I think to that end, this race is going to be run in segments. I think early on you saw guys jockeying for position, making passes while they could. They'll settle into a race pace. We're already almost 10 laps into this race, and I think once we get past the halfway point, if they feel like their tires are in pretty good shape, that's when they'll start forcing the issue a little bit. They just have to hope that Kyle Kaiser's not long gone by then.
Mark, at St. Petersburg 2 weeks ago for the first race, Kyle Kaiser grabbed his first career pole lost that first position really on the first lap to Zach Veach when he kind of got squeezed out into that first corner. Impressed with the pace that he's shown early on. He didn't want to give up that lead early on.
No, and then, as a pole sitter, I think he learned a little something by what happened at St. Petersburg, and we talked about it in qualifying yesterday. You see young guys go out, take their first run in a 2-lap qualifying effort. You'd like to talk to them right away and say, hey, what would you do differently almost right away? A big learning curve, especially at a place like this, and whatever lessons he needed to learn after what happened at St. Pete when he lost a couple of positions at the start, clearly he didn't let that happen again. He's the guy that's in charge of pacing the field to the green flag. That's exactly what he did, and he enjoyed the spoils of being the fastest qualifier.
9 of 90 laps in the books here at Phoenix International Raceway here for the Indy Lights Series. Kyle Kaiser with a 1.2 second lead over Ed Jones. Let's check in for the first time on pit lane with Rob Howden.
Guys, I'll tell you, I talked to a bunch of drivers in the paddock before we set up for this race, and they echoed exactly what Mark James just said. The opening laps here, they know that they were going to try to take advantage of the opening lap chaos, but at that point, they would have to settle it and take care of their Cooper tires. That was definitely the call. Every driver told me between 60 and 70 laps is when they're going to really have to take care of the tires. It's that last 20 to 30 lap run where they can start getting aggressive. Big battle on track right now with Zach Veach.
Yeah, Jake Query, that happened right there in turn 2. It's a battle for 10th. Zach Veach just got around Dalton Kellett.
Did so to the inside between turns 1 and 2. Kellett going to try to take a look now in turn 3. Veach shuts the door. Veach holding on to that 10th spot, now exits turn number 4. That car gets to the outside. Kellett starts to settle down just a little bit, as now it's about a 3-car length advantage between that 5 and 22.
There was a big wiggle out of that teal Andretti Autosport Mazda in turns 3 and 4, but Mark, once Zach Veach cleared Dalton Kellett, he opened up to about a 10 to 12 car length advantage. He's going to need some help with some cautions and tire management, but Zach Veach appears to have a fast race car.
Well, he was anxious to get here because his last win in the series came on an oval. He enjoys oval racing. Unfortunately, a cut tire put him against the outside retaining wall in turn number 4. They couldn't make the repairs they needed to allow him to go qualifying. You got to be impressed, because I don't know if too many times on a track like this in an Indy Lights formula that we've ever seen a guy pass 6 cars within the first 10 or 11 laps. I think you hit the nail on the head there. That is an awfully fast race car.
So Zach Veach, the big mover early on from 16th to 10th. Still Kyle Kaiser at the front of the field. Jake Query, as they roar out of turn number 4, that lead has kind of stayed stagnant at about 1.2 seconds as Ed Jones appears to still have a pretty racy car.
I'll tell you, that battle for third right now is the one that's interesting. That's because Negrau is keeping R.C. Ederson, the 3rd spot, right there in his sights. It's about a 2.5 car length advantage. Nick, it appears as though, in particular coming off 4, as they're doing so right now, that Ederson loses just a little bit of ground. Negrau, though, can't make up for it. They go into turn number 1, and that's where Ederson seems to be able to get himself some breathing room.
Yeah, that's a great observation, Jake. Ederson took a very, very wide line out of turn number 4, so that battle for 3rd sets up again in turns 3 and turns 4. They get around this racetrack here at Phoenix just so incredibly quick. Negrau this time stretches it out a little far to the right side of the racetrack, right up alongside the blue walls here at Phoenix International Raceway. So Kyle Kaiser's your leader, Ed Jones 2nd, R.C. Ederson runs 3rd. The distance between Ederson and Negrau is just half a second. Andre Negrau 4th, Santi Urrutia is 5th. Felix Sorrellis, one of the winners at St. Petersburg, currently runs 6th. Zachary Clayman DeMello runs 7th. Dean Stoneman runs 8th. Neil Alberico is 9th. Zach Veach, the big mover, is up 6 spots to 10th. Dalton Kellett runs 11th. Scott Hargrove is 12th. Shelby Blackstock 13th. Juan Pedrojita 14th. Felix Rosenquist on an oval for the first time, one of our winners from St. Pete. He's not finding a lot of success early on. He runs 15th, and Heeman Choi currently rounds out the 16 drivers running in the 16th position. Mark, the pace around this place, they pick these laps up and they lay them down. We're going to see it tonight in the Verizon IndyCar Series. It is so impressive around this tight 1-mile racetrack to see these guys just blitz off these laps.
69 laps remaining in this race, Nick. I don't think it's out of the question that Choi, Rosenquist, Pedrojita, and Blackstock could be feeling some heat from the leaders in about 20 laps or so. I think we're going to see, unfortunately, some guys go laps down. I mean, I just saw the leader, Kaiser, go into turn number 3. just about the time that Choi was entering turn number 4. He can't quite seem at the end of the straightaway just yet, but again, I would say within 20 laps things could get interesting in terms of some of the veterans running up front having to negotiate the inexperience in the back with traffic.
Rob Howden, we've got a lot of drivers that making their second year, their sophomore campaigns in the Indy Lights Series, and while this 2016 season is still very early, hard not to put Kyle Kaiser at the top of the list as maybe most improved so far with about 2.5 races in the book.
You know, Nick, I got a chance to do the press conferences after all of our races, and it's just so night and day when you see with these young guys in their first year of the Indy Lights program. They're a little bit nervous. They're nervous on the racetrack. They make some mistakes as well, but we get them into the press conference room, and they're just kind of uncomfortable. But man, you know, this year, Kyle Kaiser has rolled out here looking so good, so impressive. He is just relaxed. He's focused, and I'll tell you, I think you're right, Nick. If he gets on a roll here right now, we always talk about winning that first race. If Kyle Kaiser can get that first race win in the books, we may see him win a number of races here in 2016.
Boy, awfully impressive what we see from these drivers, but also these race cars, of course, powered by Mazda engines. Since 2007, Mazda has provided more than $12 million in driver development scholarships, more than $2 million in scholarships on the line this season in USF 2000 Pro Mazda and Indy Lights. And of course, Mark, we've seen some of these Indy Lights champions move on to the IndyCar Series. And Michael Young, who joins us as well down there on pit lane, you've got a chance to know some of these Indy Lights drivers as well. A lot of talent has come up through the ladder system throughout the years.
Yes, indeed. It's always fun to watch these drivers as they go from USF 2000, make their way to Pro Mazda and Indy Lights. We're with Jason Penix, Director of Development here in this Mazda Road to Indy program. The growth that not only Mazda has brought to the sport, but this ladder series has been so amazing. And we talk year after year how impressive this has become. What do you see in the future for this to grow even more?
Well, I think, naturally we want to see it continue to grow. Last year in Indy Lights, using this as an example, we averaged 12 cars, and today we have 16 here. So, we're darn near a 30% increase, and that's a lot of hard work by Mazda, Cooper Tires. All of our partners do such a wonderful job supporting this series. They've made it a destination for these young drivers, and it's starting to show.
I think one of the most impressive things, and you'll hear it from drivers, especially after they graduate to the Verizon IndyCar Series, that this new Indy Lights car debuted last year. It's very close to what they will actually drive when they do make the jump to the final rung of this ladder.
Absolutely, and that helps for sure. Guys know they can come to Indy Lights, have the proper training, make the jump to IndyCar, and do well, and so that's very important.
Very good. Thank you, Jason. Enjoy the rest of the race.
Thank you.
That's Jason Penix, guys.
Jason Penix, one of the good guys. Michael Young's not too bad himself, Mark, if you think about it. We saw a good battle shaping up there, Jake Query, for about, I want to say, the 10th position. It was Dean Stoneman trying to get around Zachary Clayman DeMello. Excuse me, that was actually for the 7th position. And then once Stoneman cleared Clayman DeMello, he had big problems at your end of the racetrack.
Big time, because DeMello wanted to go to the outside. When he did so, that 13 machine got awfully loose. Not only did Stoneman get past him, but that allowed for Beach to do the same. Now he's got some problems behind him in the form of Dalton Kellett. So while he was running 7th just 4 circuits ago, now all of a sudden that wiggle between 1 and 2 and just getting that car back in line has cost him 3 spots on the racetrack.
We've had a change for the 4th position as Santi Urrutia has gotten around Andre Negrão, who appears to be struggling down the backstretch. Let's check in the pit lane with Rob Howden.
Just to add further to what Jake Query said there, I talked to a couple drivers and asked them about what would happen if they got past. Was there any kind of second groove at all? And they said to me that when you get past going into turn number 1, you've got to get off and you've got to tuck back in behind. You can't go too wide. We saw that with Zach Clayman DeMello. As soon as he got up out of the groove, that car pushed to the wall, full lock, and I was here with his teammate at Yunkos Racing, and they were just up and down. Folks, we have a yellow on track.
Hey. We do have an issue. It is Heeman Choi, the young Korean driver. Lost the rear end of that car coming out of turn number 4, slid about a third of the way down the front straightaway, did not make contact with either the inside or outside wall, and it was also right in front of the leaders, Mark, and it appears he's got issues there with his Cooper tires.
Yeah, 77 machine piloted by Scott Anderson at St. Petersburg. Scott is actually driving the pace car this weekend. Choi in that 77 car, and that we haven't seen 3 and 4 be much of a troublesome spot. Most of the issues in the Verizon IndyCar Series, anyway, have come in the area of 1 and 2. But that car owner said it. We get a chance to look at the replay.
Right in front of the leader, albeit too.
Yeah, it just stepped out on him. I don't know if he ran over a piece of debris and cut a tire, much like what happened to Zach Veach yesterday. But that's quite a feeling. And we've had, driver analyst after driver analyst. We've had Robbie Buell, we've had Davey Hamilton, we've had Zach Veach, we've had Sage Karam, and all of those guys explained to us that is you feel it. You feel it right away, and just all of a sudden that grip, which you can actually feel the car gripping, all of a sudden just disappears, and oftentimes without warning. Luck and skill both allowed him to minimize the damage to that race car in some very, very, very strange circumstances.
Yeah, Heeman Choi did a really nice job of at least when he lost the car to lock him down so that car didn't slide up to the inside or the outside. Because, Mark, one of the things that I've been amazed with, the front straightaway here at Phoenix International Raceway, it's not tremendously wide. So to have an issue off of 4 and not hit the wall, that's going to be a rarity.
Hard to believe this is the 30th anniversary of the Indy Lights here, Nick, and Phoenix International Raceway's first event, April 2nd, 1986. It was then referred to as the American Racing Series. It ran in conjunction with CART at the time. Of course, the Indy Lights came into existence in 1991, ceased operations in 2001. Of course, then the Infiniti Pro Series was born. It ran at PIR for a couple of years through 2005. It was renamed Indy Lights in 2008. So that's a little glimpse of the history. And, there's a who's who of drivers in the Verizon IndyCar Series that have come up through the ranks and had the opportunity to race here. And in this season, when so much of the focus is placed on the 100th running, it's great to be back here at Phoenix. It'll be great to get back to Road America. And I think more enjoyment out of this race weekend is to revisit the outstanding history that the Indy Light Series has at this fabulous facility.
So the yellow flag is out for the first time today at 37 of 90 laps complete in this race here for the Indy Light Series, presented by Cooper Tires. We're going to see the 1 to go sign. Rob Howden, the one casualty that brought out the caution. Heeman Choi's in front of you.
Yeah, he came down here to the pit, actually stopped short of his pit. They're going to try to roll him in here right now. The 77 into pit lane. As he came in, it was kind of crabbing a little bit. Looks like there could be something bent in the front of the car, but the team is ready for him. But again, he just made his pit lane.
Heeman Choi is going to fall about 4 laps down, so going to be hard to dig himself out of that hole as they make their way down the back stretch. And just got a report from Rob Howden that they have shut the engine off for the number 77 of Heeman Choi. So it appears he will end today's race with a 16th place finish. The good news for a lot of those cars in the tail end of the lead lap is that caution happened at a good time. Everyone was able to stay on the lead lap. Leader Kyle Kaiser accelerates to the start-finish line. Jay Query, the first 7 or 8 cars are single file, but Shelby Blackstock and the Team Pelfrey cars mixing it up towards the rear of the field.
Meanwhile, good battle for third as well. Taking a look to the inside, Uritia tried to make up that third spot, could not do so. R.C. Enerson holds him off. Field now single file as they work into turn number 4.
Move Dean Stoneman up to the 6th position as he got around Felix Sorales. Sorales is going to have his hands full as Neil Albarico, his teammate Jake, sets him up in turn 1.
You get the impression, Albarico, by the way, able to hold him off. You get the impression, Nick, that perhaps on the restarts, everybody wants to see exactly where they are. We go a couple of laps and then everything settles down just a little bit, while, as Mark talked about, everybody tries to get a feel for when those tires are going to allow them to really make their move.
Mark, Neil Albarico took a shot into the corner to get around Felix Sorales, slid up the racetrack, and look who's right there in that Bilardi Auto Racing machine to slide up now into the 7th position.
Yep, he had to lift, and that opened the door for Zach. Zach had made a run off him off of turn number 4, couldn't make it happen. And then when Albarico went after Sorales, couldn't make the pass stick, he too lost momentum. That momentum continues for Zach Veach as he has Felix Sorales in his crosshairs now as they head toward Jake Query.
He tries to make that move now. Sorales has about a 3-car length advantage, but Veach, coming off the dog leg, tries to make up ground. However, Sorales is able to get just a little bit more speed before they move into turn number 3.
Jake Query, the fastest car on the racetrack to my eye, might be that driver's 6th in line. Dean Stoneman trying to run down the 17 of Andre Negrão.
Tries to take it now down towards the inside, a little bit lower line going into turn number 1. Can't make the move on Negrão. Now into the dog leg, gets right in his shadow, right on his tire tracks. Stoneman tried to reel him in into turn number 3.
Gets to about a half a car length. Negrão takes it about a half a groove off the yellow line. Very aggressive line though for Stoneman. And Mark, he's not able to gain much ground off of turn number 4.
About a 4 car length advantage now at the setup of turn number 2, and it'll stay that way as they start to kick through the dog leg and set up for the back straightaway.
Kyle Kaiser, your leader. Ed Jones runs 2nd. RC Enerson is 3rd. Santi Urrutia 4th. The battle, though, continues to be for 5th as Andre Negrão has it, and certainly Dean Stoneman wants it. Across the line, we reach the halfway point. 45 of 90 laps in the book as Jake, the front 6, have distanced themselves from the rest of the pack.
Boy, I'll tell you, that battle for 5th, and it starts to heat up again. Stoneman is right there ready to pounce on Negrão. As a matter of fact, he's going to dive low to the inside of turn number 4. They're side by side entering turn number 4, Nick.
Boy, Andre Negrão gave him a little bit of room, but Stoneman not able to keep that momentum up, Jake, as they set up for turn 1. The distance about 2 car lengths, a battle for 5th.
It seems as though Stoneman, in particular, off the dog leg, heading into turn number 3. That's where all of a sudden it's like a magnet pulling him in, and that magnet pulling him in is that car of Negrão that's sitting in 5th. But Stoneman, Nick, is not able to make his move through 3-4. Then Negrão gets a little bit more comfortable now as they move in through turn number 1.
Kaiser still your leader. Ed Jones runs 2nd. RC Enerson 3rd. Santi Urrutia 4th. Andre Negrão runs 5th. Dean Stoneman is 6th. And Mark, from what I've seen, you're able to get a run on drivers down the back straightaway and the front straightaway, but getting up alongside them has been awfully tough for a lot of these drivers.
What's impressive is you've got guys like Kaiser, Jones, Enerson ran some of the short ovals last year, places like Milwaukee and Iowa. Sorales and Veach have experience there as well. But Urrutia, Negrão, and Stoneman, I know some of those guys might have some experience in F2000, US F2000, and Pro Mazda on some of these short ovals. They don't have experience in this car on a short oval. So Urrutia, Negrão, Stoneman, got to tip your cap to them because they've been awfully competitive today and running consistently inside the top 10.
That battle for 5th is almost a battle for 4th as those 2 drivers, Negrão and Stoneman, not really letting Santi Urrutia stretch out that battle as well. Up front, Kyle Kaiser has a 1.1 second lead over Ed Jones. Michael Young, Ed Jones in his 2nd year. We saw him go to victory lane numerous times a year ago. He's a championship contender, lurking right now as he chases our leader, Kyle Kaiser.
I had an opportunity to talk to him before the race, Nick, and I said, if you could compare this place to anywhere, what would it be? And he said, well, it's a little bit like Iowa, more so in turns 3 and 4. He said, although the banking's not the same, he likes that end of the circuit. He said 1 and 2 is really, really tight with that additional banking, pulling that extra G. And he said, if you're going to be able to pass anybody, your best opportunity to do so is if you've got a guy sandwiched between another car. So you can be the 3rd in line, hopefully get that air washed off the front of the machine and then take advantage of him and pounce. Very tricky place to pass. But again, Ed Jones, if you remember in Iowa, ran 2nd to then teammate Max Chilton, running 2nd again today. But he's closing in on Kyle Kaiser ever so slowly.
Jake Query, that battle for 5th is not going array as Andre Negrão has it, and Dean Stoneman still all over the rear wing of that car.
It seems almost an inevitability that Stoneman's going to get around him, but give credit, of course, to Negrão, a guy who yesterday had an incident in practice, was open about the fact that this is the only oval he's ever been on between the test, practice, and qualifying here, and he's doing a heck of a job right now because, to your point, Nick, Stoneman, as they move in through turn number 1 and 2, might have the faster car of the 2, but Negrão is putting his car exactly where he needs to be able to keep that distance about 2 car lengths.
He had a big wiggle there. Andre Negrão, our current 5th place runner, coming out of turn number 2. He is very high coming out of turn number 4. Jake Query, this may be the opportunity Dean Stoneman needs. He's about a car length and a half back.
Once again, he takes a look to the inside and can't make the move. Now Negrão gets it very high coming out of turn number 2 into the dog leg. Bottom of the racetrack, now middle of the track, heading into turn number 3. Stoneman right there falls off a little bit between 3 and 4.
Mark Janes, these battles, it's like a rubber band. It stretches, come back together. I mean, you can tell that a lot of these cars must be set up pretty similarly because these drivers just not able to get alongside. They pull away, they stretch it back in. It's been awfully tight racing.
And I think Ed Jones is not quite done with Kyle Kaiser. I know the advantage is 1.1, but I think little by little he seems to be shaving off a tick here and a tick there. And I really think that Ed Jones has done a really good job of keeping that race car under him, exercise that phrase tire management, and I don't know. We've got 34 laps to go, and I know they're busting off some quick laps, but Nick, I just don't think this thing's quite over yet.
Rob Howden, how about a note on our leader, Kyle Kaiser, who has done a tremendous job, still leading with 33 to go.
Well, you know, guys, you never know what these guys are like on the radio, whether they're chatterboxes or whether they stay quiet. Well, I just talked to Ricardo Uncos, the team owner, and of course engineer for Kyle Kaiser, and he said it has been complete radio silence. They're very happy with the car right now, the way they're seeing it. The times are exactly what they wanted. And Ricardo did say that yellow flag obviously going to give those tires a little chance to cool off, and he thinks it's going to help Kyle as he's out front. The tire degradation, of course, is going to be tough throughout the day, but that yellow gave him a little bit of a break midway through the race.
Kaiser, Jones, and Enerson, your front 3, they're running fairly comfortably, but Jake, you could throw a blanket over those drivers running 4th, 5th, and 6th. Sante Urrutia, Andre Negrão, Dean Stoneman off of turn number 4 headed your way.
It's funny because Negrão, as he was dealing with mirrors full of Stoneman, all of a sudden looked up and had to think to himself, wait a minute, that 55 of Urrutia is right there in front of me for the 4th position. And to your point, Nick, they are right there. The distance nearly the same for Negrão in front and behind him. Stoneman between 3 and 4 drops back just a little bit. Urrutia now tries to get that room as Negrão, coming off of 4, starts now to close in just a little bit. He might be able to reel in that machine.
Best battle on the racetrack. It is for 4th, 5th, and 6th. Urrutia has about a 6 or 7 car length lead, but Mark Janes, Dean Stoneman just harassing Andre Negrão. If Negrão's going to hold on to this top 5 spot, he's going to earn it today.
He's looking for room underneath him now as they come off of turn number 4. The 27 car of Stoneman with 17 of Negrão in the crosshairs, Jake.
Stoneman absolutely is giving it every single look that he can, high and low, can't get around Negrão. Negrão now has him, distance maybe a car length and a half as they work their way between 3 and 4. Negrão goes a little bit higher in through turn number 4. Stoneman again can't make the move as they cross the line.
This 90-lap race is absolutely flying by. Just 28 to go at the line. Our leader, Kyle Kaiser, on the backstretch with a 1.3-second lead over Ed Jones. Jones with a 1.3-second deficit back to R.C. Enerson. Sante Urrutia runs 4th. Andre Negrão 5th. Dean Stoneman as 6th. One driver retired for the day. The young driver making just one of a handful of starts for Schmidt-Peterson Racing. Heeman Choi standing by with Michael Young.
Heeman, what happened out there? Obviously, it looked like your day is over. You're out and you're making your way back to the hauler. What happened?
Yes, first of all, my car a little too loose in the beginning, but I managed a couple of laps. But unfortunately, in front of the leader, and I couldn't manage my car balance, so I just spun. But my pace was not that bad this weekend, so it's a little disappointing. But after I practice, I will be a little more competitive.
We'll see you down the road.
Thank you.
Heeman Choi, guys, and boy, talk about a learning curve and having to learn an oval. This is a tough place to start out.
Oh, Mark Janes, this is a place for the second race weekend of the year for a lot of these drivers, a lot of these rookies. So, hey, go attack Phoenix International Raceway. That's quite a task with 25 to go.
Well, but I think, give a lot of credit to the guys setting up the race car for knowing exactly, the way it's supposed to feel for these drivers and giving them a good mount and the confidence to be able to go out and tackle this thing. I mean, as you look around at just the way the racetrack is set up, you can tell that every corner is so very, very different, and you have to strike a delicate balance. It's not like a road and street course where you can go out and do it the way Rubens Barrichello did it the one year he was in the series, and where he would attack it corner by corner by corner in each session. I mean, you have to find a delicate balance to be fast everywhere, and a lot of these drivers among the top 5 or 6 did a masterful job of that this weekend.
Kyle Kaiser leads with 23 laps to go. That deficit starting to dwindle a bit. It was 1.3, 1.4 seconds a handful of laps to go. Ed Jones has it down to 1.2, but not close enough to challenge. Back to pit lane and Rob Howden.
Nick, we've talked a lot about the equality of the series here in Indy Lights. Last year, over a handful of drivers actually were able to score victories. We have 3 different teams running in the top 3 right now, and even more interestingly, with Kyle Kaiser and Ed Jones up front. Remember, we already have 2 new winners from St. Petersburg, or 2 unique winners in Rosenquist and the other Yukos driver. So here we go forward. We're going to have at least 3 different winners in the first 3 races here right now. I missed that one driver that won the race in St. Petersburg, but we're going to have 3 different winners, as Felix Sorrells won as well. Thank you. So again, unbelievable consistency and equality in this program. 3 different teams up front, and it'll be 3 different teams scoring victories as well.
Rob, we talk about the competition. It's been so good. The one thing that's been consistent, and certainly as we've come to a new racetrack, the Mazda engines, the Cooper tires, boy, they've held up and performed awful strong all weekend for these teams. So it is Kyle Kaiser, Ed Jones, R.C. Enerson, Santi Urrutia, and Andre Negrão, your top 5 with about 20 laps to go. And Mark Jaynes, Kyle Kaiser has done a really solid job. I mean, that deficit is now kind of stabilized at about 1.4 seconds. And the good news, with 20 to go, I'm not sure he's going to catch the back of the field.
It was at 1.5, then it got down to 1.1. Now it's back up to 1.3. Turning laps consistently at 157 plus.
All right, that battle, Jake Query, finally for 5th has been settled, and it appears Dean Stoneman has got around Andre Negrão.
You know, Negrão, as they went into turn number 2, Stoneman got inside of him. Not sure if it was that dirty air of the marbles, but Negrão did a nice job of saving it because it got a little bit squirrely. I'm sure a race car driver never likes to give up position on track, but he knew that making sure that he had control of his own machine prioritized at that point over holding off Stoneman. Stoneman got past, Negrão able to get the car back onto the right cylinder and groove, and now they all work their way through. But yeah, Dean Stoneman now starting to pull away from Andre Negrão.
And Mark, now we get to find out, although the laps are dwindling for Dean Stoneman at a chance at winning this race with just 17 to go, we get to find out just how fast he is as he stretched it out on Andre Negrão.
Well, I don't think there's any question. Whatever you have, now is the time to unload it. I don't think you need to worry much about tire wear at this point. Any other issue that you thought you might have, or whatever you might be playing close to the vest, you know, we're down to the 15 lap barrier, and I think it's time to let it all hang out. And let's face it, every position you grab is worth points, and the way this schedule is spread out over the course of the next couple of months, you know, this could be the kind of weekend where you look back and you know, instead of settling for 5th, you finish 4th, and that could be a factor in the championship come season's end.
Closest anyone's come to Kyle Kaiser was the pace car on the start of this race. After that, he's jumped out ahead of Ed Jones and has had a solid 1.3 second deficit back to 2nd place. Rob Howden just 14 to go. Kyle Kaiser looking strong, looking for victory number 1.
Guys, we talk about how we train these young drivers in these ovals. Of course, there's 1 oval in USF 2000. They run 2 ovals in Pro Mazda at Lucas Oil Raceway and Iowa Speedway, and they run 3 now here in Indy Lights. Well, Santi Urrutia running P4 right now. This would be his best ever Mazda Road to Indy oval finish. He was a DNF last year at Lucas Oil Raceway and finished 5th at Iowa Speedway. So 4th here right now. His oval debut in Indy Lights would be a fantastic finish for that young driver.
Yeah, that's awful impressive to post a career best on an oval. Oh, and it just happens to be your first oval in an Indy Lights car, and these cars very powerful and certainly a handful for a lot of these drivers. Mark, during practice throughout the weekend, we've seen drivers sideways, including Ed Jones off of turn 4 yesterday. Yeah. One of the greatest saves I think I've seen in Indy Lights. Yeah,
as we mentioned at the time, you're not supposed to be able to read the right side pod coming out of turn number 4, and might not have been quite as pronounced as that, but I'm sure that it felt that way in terms of that slide job coming out of turn number 4. Again, I think it speaks to the confidence that these drivers have in the setup of these race cars.
Back to pit lane and Rob Howden.
Yeah, guys, it's funny. Ed Jones actually put a picture up on Instagram of that full slide. It was a video of the full slide, and one of the guys that commented on the Instagram post was none other than Corey Kruzman, the sprint car school owner he went to at Paris Auto Speedway this week. And even Ed said that chance to run that sprint car probably gave him the help in not putting it in the wall at a turn 4.
Yeah, Yeah, when you can impress the cruiser, that's awful special. And Ed Jones doing a great job, poised for a second-place finish. And with the way the season started for Ed Jones, with a 10th and a 7th at St. Petersburg, and their first two races for a driver that hopes to be a championship contender, it's going to be an awful nice bounce-back weekend if he can hold that second-place position. Again, Kaiser is your leader. Ed Jones runs second. R.C. Enerson third. Santi Urrutia is fourth. Dean Stoneman, a few laps ago, moved up to fifth. Andre Negrão relegated to sixth. Felix Sorrells runs seventh. Zach Veach is eighth. Neil Albarico ninth. Dalton Kellett is 10th. Zachary Clayman DeMello runs 11th. Juan Pedrohita 12th. Scott Hargrove is 13th. Shelby Blackstock 14th. Felix Rosenquist is 15th. And Heeman Choi, the only driver that is retired for the day. He did it after just 34 laps. He will finish 16th. Getting down to the nitty-gritty here, Mark, with just 9 laps to go. Kyle Kaiser has done a masterful job up front. It does appear, though, I wasn't sure if he would, he may catch the tail of the field with Felix Rosenquist as a lap car.
For Jones, Enerson, Urrutia, Stoneman, Negrão, gosh, I wish we had another 10 or 15 laps. For Kyle Kaiser, 8's too many. He is, I think, wishing, hoping, praying. And we've talked to Davey, and again, Davey Hamilton, other driver analysts we've had about how difficult this is mentally from a driver's perspective to be this close to the end. And Davey says those are the sorts of things that you just can't let seep into the psyche. You've got to approach this with a tremendous amount of confidence, and your mindset needs to be, during the last 5, as sharp and as focused as it was in the first 5. And if you do that, you should be able to bring it home in good shape.
6 laps to go. The leaders down the backstretch. Jake Query, any chance, you think, for Ed Jones here in the last few laps? Is he making up that deficit at all in our leader, Kyle Kaiser?
I don't know that he is. The interesting thing is whether or not, and to Mark's point, they may simply be out of laps, and that's whether or not Felix Rosenquist, who, of course, is right now at the bottom of this field, whether he's going to play a factor or not, because those leaders are starting to close that gap just a bit. But I get the feeling just at the point where navigating that traffic might become relevant, they're going to be looking at either the white or checkered flag.
Kaiser really can't back off much because Ed Jones is 1.3 seconds behind, but thankfully for Kaiser and that Juncos Racing team, that gap to the back marker of Felix Rosenquist is about 20 to 25 car lengths. It is Kaiser through turn number 3. There is Ed Jones. There is R.C. Enerson bouncing back with another solid podium finish that he's poised for. Santi Urrutia and Dean Stoneman running 5th, Mark. That battle for 4th has kind of heated up. Stoneman has had an opportunity to take a few looks at Santi Urrutia.
You know, as talented and as deep as this field is, anything can happen week in and week out. But wins may start coming in bunches for this kid now. I mean, he's cracked this nut here at Phoenix International Raceway. And, you know, he gets to Barber Motorsports Park. I think he'll be very comfortable there. And then the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This has to give him a boost of confidence going to the 2.5-mile oval late in May. Considering the makeup of this race team and the talent of this driver, this kid could really get on a hot streak here that would be bad news for the rest of the drivers in the series.
White flag is in the air. Jake Query, Kyle Kaiser poised for his first career win.
Kaiser, and then behind him, of course, you have a pretty good battle for 3rd as Urrutia tries to take a look on R.C. Enerson. I don't think he's going to be able to make that move. Field already with the leader in now through turn number 3 and turn number 4.
Santi Urrutia is going to take a look into turn 3. He's not going to get there. Out of turn number 4 for the first career win. Kyle Kaiser, fist pumping in the air. The driver from Santa Clara, California, will go to victory lane, leading flag to flag all 90 laps here at Phoenix International Raceway to score career win number 1. The Juncos team celebrating down there. Ricardo Juncos, what a job this organization has done in Indy Lights, winning the championship a year ago, giving Kyle Kaiser a second chance, a second opportunity to come back. And boy, it has paid dividends as he is headed to victory lane for career win number 1. Kyle Kaiser, your big winner here at Phoenix International Raceway. Ed Jones was able to hold off R.C. Enerson, who made a strong charge Jones comes home with a second-place finish. R.C. Enerson ends up third. Santi Urrutia will finish fourth. Dean Stoneman picks up a top-5 finish as he comes home in the 5th position. Andre Negrau, a solid performance in 6th. Felix Sorales, our championship leader heading into this weekend, he'll come home in the 7th position. Zach Veach made such a strong charge from 16th to 8th. He got halfway there, just ran out of laps and needed a few cautions, but he was awful racy. Veach will come home with an 8th place finish. Neil Alberico 9th. Dalton Kellett is 10th. Zachary Clayman DeMello picks up an 11th place finish. The Pelfrey teammates of Juan Pedrojita and Scott Hargrove finished 12th and 13th. Shelby Blackstock finishes 14th. Felix Rosenquist 15th and Heeman Choi is 16th. But Mark, the man of the hour is Kyle Kaiser, and career win number 1. That's one that you don't forget very quickly.
You know, I enjoyed the battle between Stoneman and Negrau. That was entertaining to watch, and that one unfolded in the course of 15 or 20 laps or so. Kaiser, Jones, Enerson, I think I don't mean to suggest that they weren't trying to win, and don't want to say that they were for sure points racing. I just think they ran where their car was capable of running, and I think it takes some maturity and some discipline to have that mindset. But, we referenced it earlier. Kaiser, Jones, Enerson, Sorales, and Veach, those are veterans in this series with these cars. But I think that 4th, 5th, and 6th bunch, Urrutia, Stoneman, and Negrau, you really got to pat those kids on the back for the job that they did and the performance they put on here this afternoon. Job well done, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch this championship unfold throughout the course of the season.
Have another young, talented American driver who appears poised to climb that ladder in the Mazda Road to Indy as Kyle Kaiser has pulled that Intervision NetApp Juniper Networks Mazda for Juncos Racing into victory lane. Got to celebrate career win number 1. Kaiser, your winner. Ed Jones is 2nd. R.C. Enerson is 3rd. Santi Urrutia 4th. Dean Stoneman is 5th. And the big news, Kyle Kaiser came into this weekend, Mark, 2nd in points after a pair of podium finishes in the first 2 races at St. Petersburg. So Kaiser has really cemented himself as a championship contender. Let's go down to Michael Young to catch up with one of our top finishers.
R.C. Enerson started 4th today, finished 3rd. Didn't look like there was a lot of opportunities to make any headway out there once you got Santi Urrutia. Walk us through the day.
Yeah, the start of the race was a little weird. We went a little bit early, so, we were able to get the jump on there. But then it was just basically just seeing what Ed was running in front of me. I was behind him the whole race, so I was just trying to adjust my lines. He was running a pretty good line, so I really had to move around a lot. But we were able to bring it back 3rd. We had a little fight there at the end coming to the white flag, but it was just because it's so much dirty air. It was hard to get the car in the right spot. But, we were able to bring it back 3rd, and I'm happy with that.
90 laps, Phoenix International Raceway. 3rd place finish. What do you think of this place now that you finished your first race here?
It's definitely a cool racetrack. It's very difficult. I'd say the most difficult oval I've ever driven on. It's unique. It's a really fun place to drive at.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
R.C. Enerson comes home 3rd today, guys.
Mark, every time I hear from that young man, R.C. Enerson, I'm more and more impressed. He's poised for big things in this Indy Lights series, and to grab a podium finish at a tough racetrack like Phoenix, that's awful impressive.
Yeah, I don't want to say that he's necessarily an under-the-radar guy, but he's just quietly efficient and very, very competitive week in and week out, and I'm anxious to see what the future holds for that young man. Cerebral, as they say, I think. And is one cool customer. Michael Young's standing by with the driver who finished runner-up today.
Ed Jones joins us. Just talked to R.C. Enerson. Said it was an odd start. Walk us through the beginning of this race. Did you find it odd?
Well, yeah, I think car just went a bit early. So then, yeah, it kind of messed things up a bit. But he's a pole man, so he got to decide what he wanted to do. Yeah, the race was pretty progressive. Once it got underway, it was the leader dictated the pace, and it was really difficult to, there wasn't as much degradation as we expected, so it was really difficult to get close up and so on. And as I heard from my engineer, everyone that did close up on other cars, they just had way too much push, with the aero. So yeah, it's a difficult race. I expected to catch the back markers more, but obviously that yellow right in that mid phase stopped that from happening. And I think if that had happened, it could have been a very exciting race, but yeah, that's the way it is. And to come away with a 2nd, it's a good result. You know, we had a difficult weekend in St. Pete, but now we're here and we're like, what we want to do is be as consistent as possible, get up front all the time. Obviously, the aim's to win, but when you can't do that, you got to just be up there. And that's our aim for the rest of the season.
Nice job today.
Thank you.
Ed Jones comes home second. Rob Howden, you have our winner.
Yeah, I got a driver here in his 4th year in the Mazda Road to Indy, and Kyle Kaiser, you're able to put it in victory lane here at Phoenix. Give us a little feel inside how it feels.
It was fantastic. The whole race, the Mazda engine was strong from start to finish. Cooper tires didn't wear at all. I thought that was going to be a huge factor. It was fantastic. I had no issues, doing almost identical times from lap 1 to lap 90. So fantastic.
You guys were obviously able to take advantage of your pole position. Every other car behind you had the little wicker bell on the rear wing. You do not. You're able to have clear air the whole time. That probably made a big difference for you.
Like I've told everybody, my engineer's done such a great job this weekend. I think we just have more mechanical grip than everybody, so we can afford to trim out and still have the grip. So we've just done an awesome job with setup.
You had a good learning year last year in Indy Lights. This year now you're a sophomore. You had a great run at St. Petersburg. It must feel like you have so much momentum now with this win in Phoenix.
Absolutely. This is the goal. Come here and try to do better than second, and we did it. So let's try to keep it up for the next race weekend.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
There he is, folks. Your very first race winner here on the Oval of 2016, Kyle Kaiser for Uncos Racing.
Again, the top 5 today. Kyle Kaiser scores career win number 1. Ed Jones is 2nd. R.C. Enerson 3rd. Santi Urrutia 4th. Dean Stoneman 5th. Mark, as we put a bow on this 90-lap race here in Phoenix International Raceway, 3 races in for Indy Lights. We've seen 3 different winners from 3 different teams. That's what we came to expect a year ago when we saw so much parity. So great to see that in 2016 that hasn't gone anywhere.
So podium consistency, we think will be the difference if that trend continues. You're going to have to finish there to have a shot at the championship. At the end of the day, though, just like with the Verizon IndyCar Series, you win the most races, that's going to be the deal breaker right there. That's going to make or break you. Nobody knows that better than Scott Dixon in the Verizon IndyCar Series. Just that one more win made all the difference in the world in that championship.
An impressive undercard here at Phoenix International Raceway as Kyle Kaiser scores the victory. Now we turn our attention on the big show, the Verizon IndyCar Series race here at Phoenix International. We come on the air at 5:30 local time, 8:30 Eastern. Join Mark Janes in the booth with Zach Veach. I'll be on pit lane with Rob Howden and Michael Young. Jake Query will be out in the corner. It is going to be a fast and exhilarating race as we watch to see some of the top Chevrolet and Honda drivers. Big discrepancy this weekend. Going to make for a fascinating race. Again, we will be live at 5:30 local time here in Phoenix, 8:30 Eastern. Congratulations to Kyle Kaiser, who picks up career win number 1 here at Phoenix International Raceway in the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. For Rob Howden, Michael Young in pit lane, for Mark Janes and Jake Query, my name is Nick Yeoman, and this has been the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network.
This is the Verizon IndyCar Series on the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network.
A.J. Foyt down the main straightaway. The checkered flag is out. A.J.'s hand in the air. He is the winner. A.J. Foyt at Indianapolis has won his 4th 500-mile race. A.J. Foyt, our winner. The flag will fly now for Tom Sneva and then for Al Unser. We will be talking with all of these drivers in just a moment. Lou Palmer is in victory lane as A.J. Foyt takes now his victory lap around the 2.5 miles of Indianapolis. A record-breaking end to a record-breaking month. A.J. Foyt, the 4th win at Indianapolis. A month that saw the 200-mile-an-hour barrier broken, not just in the practice